The Demon by Hubert Selby Jr. This is one of the most fragmented and gritty and craziest books ever written. This makes American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis look like the memoirs of a Boy Scout. It makes Patrick Bateman look like some, I don't know, preppy guy who's in for like a little weekend foray or something. Hubert Selby Jr. tells it like it freaking is, okay? I spent, I don't know, 8 or 9 hours consecutively without food, just reading this book continually. I freaking lived this book. Selby's prose is so raw. So it's the writing of a survivor. Reading Selby, you you get the sense of somebody who's survived some kind of epic cataclysmic battle, which no human being is meant to see or witness, yet he's lived to attest to it. He's lived to come back to you and speak of his survival against impossible odds. And to me, that's what reading Hubert Selby Jr. is. It's about survival. He talks about and espouses so much darkness, so much evil, so much hatred, yet the victory of this book is that he's still here to talk about it, right? He's still around. Hubert Selby Jr. had such a crazy, crazy, fucked up life, okay? He dropped out of school in grade 8. He enlisted in the Merchant Marine. He went overseas. He was then diagnosed with an advanced form of tuberculosis. He was quarantined on a ward. He almost died. In fact, he was the only guy in the ward who didn't die. Once he eventually got out, he developed a series of drug addictions which like screwed him up for his entire life. But he survived to write some of the best and most friggin' underrated books in literature. You can't find this in bookstores. Okay, I got this as a present, and the person who got it for me had to buy it friggin' offline. Nobody has, well, most people haven't heard of this book, and it's incredible. So, what's it about? Well, it's about this guy called Harry White, who, like Patrick Bateman, is working in middle management for a fairly prominent, prosperous company. Okay, now Harry White, on the surface, is a good guy. He lives with his parents. His parents love him. But he starts out the book as a nymphomaniac, right? He's literally addicted to things like sex and intimacy and everything else, right? And he gets off on sleeping with as many women as he possibly can. Gradually, he fails to get the same high, right? So he has to keep escalating. He moves up to theft, and then he moves on to like petty assaults, and then he moves on to eventually murder, right? Like you know where the book is going to go from page one, okay? And there's two types of books. There's books that start out, you don't know where they're going to end, okay? And it's about, the author gradually accustoming you to the idea of that ending. There's books where you start them out and you know exactly where they're going to go, but the author has to show their work and justify getting you from point A to point B. Hubert Selby Jr. does that better than anyone else I've ever known. And like literally almost nobody knows the guy's name. I've only ever met one other person who's heard of Hubert Selby Jr., right? And this book, in my opinion, it just far frigging eclipses things like, American Psycho and all this sybaritic commercial tripe, right? I mean, this is just, you really feel like he just encapsulated, like Hubert Selby Jr. just like encapsulated a part of his soul and just deposited it in this book and just left it behind for us to witness. See, the tragedy of somebody like Harry White, the protagonist of this book, is that he wants to be helped. And he's talking to people, and he's endlessly like at one point in the book, right? He goes to see a psychiatrist, right, at the behest of his wife and his coworkers, and he tries to legitimately tell the psychiatrist what his issues are, right? But the psychiatrist is incessantly like asking him about things like his toilet training and everything else, and it just seems so solipsistic, like he really wants to communicate what his problem is, but nobody is willing to listen, and there was just an implicit even redemption in this, like just simply the fact that you make it through it and you follow Harry to the end of his story. You feel like a survivor. You feel like you've survived something, and you feel like you're stronger for the experience, and you feel like you've seen just a seamy underside of life, which you're not meant to see. But in my opinion, that's what literature does. It doesn't affirm. It creates dissidence. right? It makes you see the world around you and blink and object and just try to ameliorate things that you don't understand into your everyday reality. Anyway, Harry White and Hubert Selby Jr. This is an absolutely brilliant, incredible, like psychotic read. Okay, and I cannot recommend it enough if you can get your hands on a copy of it, which are the copies are extremely rare. I mean, people simply do not write with this much honesty anymore. Okay, and I'll tell you what this is. Okay, this is the honesty of somebody on their deathbed. Okay, because the only people who don't lie in this world are people who are about to die. All right. And Hubert Selby Jr. is one of those people. He's somebody who has stared death in the face. He's gone outside the cave, and now he's come back to society to tell us the tale. And he's here to make us stronger. Okay? So, again, I reiterate, guys, read this book. You will not be disappointed. Signing off.